Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this evening. This morning's been a long day. Been a long day already. This morning's cabinet meeting. Item 1 is apologies. So I think we are all here. So welcome everybody. Declarations of interest. Are there any at this point? None indicated. The minutes of the previous meeting, which is circulated with the pack, are we happy to agree those as a true record? Excellent, thank you, I shall sign those. And item 4 is leaders' announcements. I just want to pick up on 2 points, if I may. One is clearly the situation in Ukraine and the horrific issues that we are seeing on our television screens night in and night out. And a real commitment on behalf of Telford Wrekin Council to do all that we can to support the Ukrainian resettlement programme as and when that comes through from government, and to support the evacuees as much as we can. And also a big thank you to all of those community groups up and down Telford and Wrekin that have already done so much to support Ukraine, from sending things to the border to hosting people already, and to express that interest on the government website. And we're looking forward to more details from the government. We've been meeting with the Home Office and others. Those meetings will continue, and our clear indication to the government is that we want to play our part and do our fair share to support the people of Ukraine. And we need certainty and clarity from the government about how that will work. And how children, in particular children, but children and the Ukrainian citizens who come to this country, how they will be supported in terms of schooling, in terms of healthcare, in terms of housing. And we can't have a situation where we've got people in hotels for months on end. We do really need to see some urgency around this from the Home Office. The second point I want to raise is around cost of living, and I think almost everybody in Telford and Wrekin is feeling the cost of living, whether that be increased costs in food, going and filling up your car, energy bills. And we are on the side of our residents here in Telford and Wrekin, and we've frozen our council tax despite the opposition by the Conservatives here in Telford and Wrekin for doing such a move. We will be doing all that we can in other ways too to support residents, whether that be extending our free school meals for eligible children over the Easter holidays, whether that be providing free activities for families, whether that be advice and support. And we'll also be announcing further direct support to residents of Telford and Wrekin who do not qualify for the government's £150 scheme in the coming days. But we do need, again, to see urgency and action around that. I was struck by a report that I saw today that 57% of the cost of a litre is made up by direct taxation, whether that be fuel duty or VAT. Given that the government have got a spring statement coming up, I do hope that on fuel, energy, food, and indeed the cost of testing yourself for COVID will all be things that the government look at ways in which to support average and hard-working and average earning and hard-working families here in Telford and Wrekin. We'll move to item 5 then, which is 10 by 10. 10 things to do by the age of 10. Councillor Reynolds.
Thank you. This report provides an opportunity to raise aspirations of young people, providing them the opportunity to foster their ambitions. A clear method is outlined, from developing a consistent market approach with the creation of a web page, promoting our existing provision and explaining what we're trying to achieve. As part of the ongoing development of 10 by 10, I'm going to go back, I'm sorry. I think I've started on the wrong page. Sorry. Okay. Thank you, Leader. The report you have before you today is seeking to implement the great initiative launched by West Streeting MP. It's been many years since Labour put forward the Every Child Matters report, but the ethos is still the same. Whatever their background, every child should have the chance to take part in activities that open their eyes to new opportunities. This 10 by 10 initiative should begin in April, and we will encourage all children to take part in at least 10 life-enhancing activities by the time they are 10. especially children from disadvantaged backgrounds. The 10 ambitions we have for every 10-year-old or younger in Telford and Wrekin is to have the opportunity to join in competitive sports, to play an instrument, learn to swim, take part in drama and performing arts, visit the seaside and the countryside, experience museums, galleries and heritage sites, take part in camping trips and overnight residentials, learn to ride a bike, take part in debating and use a library. This 10 by 10 initiative will be delivered via a joint approach working with schools, community groups, key stakeholders, education services, town and parish councils and other third sector organisations. The project will be developed over phases and will be working with our partners and stakeholders to ensure its sustainability. The project will build on our current offer, with any additional requirements being provided to ensure a comprehensive provision of the offer for our young people. We know we already have a varied offer for our young people, which includes access to Arthog outdoor education, the music service, bikeability programmes, swimming for life, free swimming and free library cards for children. We have thriving activity clubs across the whole of our borough, provided by wonderful volunteers who do a wide-ranging activities which will help our youngsters progress through in life. The report provides an opportunity to raise aspirations of young people. It provides them with the opportunity to foster their ambitions. A clear method is outlined, from developing a consistent marketing approach, the creation of the web page, promoting the existing provision and explaining what we're trying to achieve. As part of the ongoing development of the 10 by 10, we will develop a charter, create a kite mark, design posters, brochures and stickers that children can use to track their progress, to help them celebrate when they do that achievement of 10 by 10. I'm delighted Telford and Wrekin is to be among the first in the UK to launch this 10 by 10 initiative locally and help our children thrive, especially those who may not otherwise benefit from essential extracurricular activities. This will support our healthy lifestyles agenda, children's well-being and improve their mental health. Learning to swim, riding a bike, playing a musical instrument, visiting museums and heritage sites, taking part in drama and performing arts and many other activities can be eye-openers for our children and set them up for new life opportunities. We have already secured an additional $300,000 to significantly increase the number of free places on our Learn to Swim programme for families on low incomes over the next 4 years, providing a combination of crash courses during summer holidays and a 13-week Learn to Swim course. This will be a great addition for families, complementing our existing free swimming for everybody under the age of 25. Coming out of what has been a very difficult 2 years for our young people and families, this report seeks to provide a real opportunity, especially for those from the most disadvantaged backgrounds. We do not want any of our young people to miss out on these opportunities, especially during their primary school life, especially children who are less likely to take part, such as children from disadvantaged backgrounds with special educational needs and disabilities or children in care. A happy and fulfilling childhood gives the best start in life, and this is what we are committed to provide for every single child in our borough. I therefore move the recommendations.
Thank you very much, Shirley. Is that seconded? Thank you very much. Any comments or contributions from members of the Cabinet? Andy?
Just say how pleased I am to see this paper. In a previous life I was responsible for developing out of school activities. For me those activities, particularly the ones outlined here, aren't icing on the cake. They actually are part of the cake. They're really important to young people that in terms of their development. And I'm really pleased to see the accent as well within the report on reaching the more disadvantaged young people, those who don't normally access this sort of provision. So I think it's a great step forward for us as a council to be involved in this, as it has been in recent years. Those young people and children who access these activities have often been those who could pay for them. This will enable a broader reach and is key, I think, to our inequalities agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly?
Yeah, just to say, it's fantastic, isn't it? And it works fantastic with our leisure offer, our free swimming and our health inequalities strategy. tackling obesity in young people and health and well-being will be greatly improved by it. So I really welcome it, and it's fantastic.
Thank you. Carolyn?
Well, as the mother of a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old, you know, I do agree that these are really, you know, key things for children to take part in. I'm in the fortunate position that I can support my children to do this, but not everybody can. And I think if we need any evidence of how important these things are, we need to look to the fee-paying school sector and see that these things are actually built in. And I think it's really unfortunate that the sort of state education sector has been, I guess, shrunk so much and so focused on SATs and assessments and exams. And we know that our schools try really hard to broaden curriculum as much as they can. But you know, there are costs associated with that. It does sometimes put barriers in the way, and of course something schools can't do. And parents struggle to give their children all of these experiences. So, you know, I really welcome this. I think it really demonstrates, doesn't it, that we absolutely believe that every child matters. So I fully support this.
Thank you very much. Eileen?
Just really briefly, I mean, much of it has been said, but it is just about bridging those inequalities, isn't it, for children, making sure that all children can take part in these activities. I mean, these things are really, really important life skills, and they build confidence in children, and they build on their well-being, and they can find their passions moving forward in life. You know, not everybody is academic, not everybody can do well at certain things, but this set of 10 activities and life skills that children can take part in, they really can form a really good basis moving forward for them. So I fully support it, and I'm glad that we've got the investment for these things within our budget. Thanks.
Thank you. Lee?
Fantastic report, fully supportive of it. Here we are at a time of 10 years on from a Conservative government and austerity, which has obliterated a lot of these activities from the community scene. As it were, we're a Labour council, making sure that first of all they're still here, but coordinating in a way and providing opportunities for all children. You know, I represent a ward, college ward, where there's a high level of children come from disadvantaged families, and there's always been a desire to improve educational achievement. But this will provide an opportunity for them, and I'm immensely proud of that commitment to particularly children from disadvantaged communities. And as others have said, it sits along a lot of our other investments that have been opposed by others. One that hasn't been mentioned has been our Stronger Communities agenda, which is we will see millions of pounds invested across Telford Wrekin into some of those areas that face the biggest challenges, and that long-standing commitment to things like Arthog, for instance. We remember 10 years ago when Conservatives not too far away cut their funding for places and travel to Arthog for young people. We've maintained that commitment, so fantastic all round. Can't wait to see it take off and see all those young people enjoying these opportunities. Some of them really, really small things to most of us, but actually really, really big things if you come from a disadvantaged background in particular. Huge opportunities. Fantastic work, fantastic report.
Paul?
Yeah, great report, and I'd echo what everybody has said. Representing the ward that I do, I see the lack of opportunities that people have because people's budgets are being squeezed continuously in this at this time. People have to make really, really difficult choices, and I think this is an opportunity to give those people who wouldn't have those choices the chance to have those choices, and I'm really, really pleased with it. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. I just want to say a big thank you to my friend Wes Streeting for showing the leadership and vision around this 10 by 10, a national initiative. This shows actually the difference that Labour has when we are in power. We are able to deliver things on behalf of the communities that we seek to serve, and I think this is a starter for 10. I think these are a minimum of 10 things that I would like to see every 10-year-old do in Telford and Wrekin, and everything that has been said today is all about that passion and that belief in our young people to give them the best start in life, because every child matters. And also the provision that we are outlining today is about helping those children who may not access these things themselves, but also actually providing high quality options for families who can afford to send their children to these activities, but actually want to do that with a provider with credentials and values that matter to them. And I think if you look at, for example, our swimming lessons, for instance, thousands of our children each and every year go through our Swim for Life provision. Very competitive prices compared to the private sector, with the values that you know that if you do pay the council to do those types of things, that the money is then reinvested back into leisure facilities. So this is a win-win for all families, I would argue. And I'd just like to say as well that I'm really looking forward to seeing the pledge card that we're going to have for every 10-year-old. I want to see that starting in September, with every reception child in Telford Wrekin being given a 10 by 10 pledge that they can tick off from the age of reception to year 6, and being able to demonstrate an almost a passport of things that they've done over the last few years. And also a big ask for our organisations and partners in Telford Wrekin. We want you to work with you, we want to work with schools, we want organisations to come forward. I've had some fantastic conversations, as has Shirley, with partners who are really excited about this agenda, whether that be RF Cosford or the Ironbridge Museum, or whether that be debating societies who really want to embrace this. They see the value and they are very passionate about this agenda. So this is a good news story, I hope, and everyone can support the initiative. They may not have supported the money that's going to go into this initiative, having opposed our budget, but I do hope that they support the initiative nevertheless. I think it's been proposed and seconded. Are there any comments that that the group leaders want to make? Bill?
Yeah, I really welcome this initiative, particularly with regard to swimming. I think about my kids as soon as they learn to swim, and I think my son did life saving, and it so opens up, and it gives great cheap entertainment for them when they get older, and fantastic exercise. And it was on that point I just popped into my head earlier. We had at the previous cabinet announcing that we're going to build a new swim baths at Dorley. If you could remind me as to when you hope to complete those baths and when they'll be up and ready.
Thank you, Bill. That feasibility work is ongoing. We're identifying the site. As part of the budget that the Conservatives voted against only a few weeks ago, £1 million was in that budget of that swimming pool for Dorley. And despite the fact that I see leaflets within certain communities saying they are for the provision of a swimming pool in Dorley, it's quite astonishing that councillors raise their hands against the investment for that swimming pool. I suppose that's one thing that's said to the public, and another thing that's said behind closed doors, maybe. Did you want to come? Oh, sorry, Nigel, I didn't realise you wanted to come in.
Yeah. Because you're busily dissing me, thought you might have forgotten me. Right, okay. The scheme, yes, the scheme is fine, and it's right to focus on disadvantaged and SEN children. I mean, a lot of the activities are provided by schools already, and I notice in the report that there's a bit of scoping to find out actually where the gaps are, and I think that would be useful work before any implementation's made. The couple of points, the taking part survey, which some of the scheme supports the need for the scheme, is actually for 5 to 15-year-olds. So the data from that can't be applied directly to 10 by 10. And the Duke of Edinburgh Award scheme is only available to children from the age of 14. So therefore that can't be included in the scheme, although it's in the report. Okay, but other than that, it's fine. But as I say, a lot of it's already happening anyway.
I find it really astonishing that you vote against the money to make this a reality, and then you attempt to diss the intentions and the work behind it through some technicality around a consultation. Nigel, just for once in your life, just accept that something that's coming forward from this council is positive and you want to get behind it, even though you voted against the funding for it. Councillor Reynolds, would you like to pick up some of the points that have been raised?
Just a couple of things on that. Whilst maybe the Duke of Edinburgh Award is for our children at the age of 14, we have got thriving beavers, brownies, Cubs Pack, all thanks to wonderful volunteers who want to work for the good of our children across the borough, and they are providing wide-ranging activities which will actually reinforce what the youngsters need to work forward for that Duke of Edinburgh Award. You talk about the Taking Part survey. Yes, the Taking Part survey is for 5 to 15-year-olds, but that was actually acknowledging that a lot of our more disadvantaged children don't take part in these activities During the pandemic, we saw a massive drop. That whole survey is indicative that children of all ages between 5 to 15, of which 10-year-olds are one, are actually falling. So I think that data is actually very relevant. To me, when I was at school, 5 to 15 did cover the range of 10. It is your median of the... so it is covered. So I think Negative Nigel should actually acknowledge that 10-year-olds come within the 5 to 15-year-old scope of survey data, and that data is relevant. It is just being a very, very minor point, but it would be nice if you could be positive Nigel, not negative Nigel on one of these occasions. So the Duke of Edinburgh scheme you mentioned, all the things that are within that, our cubs and our beavers do it.
Nigel, you were listened to in absolute silence. Please have the courtesy to do the same for Councillor Reynolds. If not, then please leave. Councillor Reynolds.
I just think it's very churlish that you've gone through a whole report which is offering absolutely wonderful opportunities to children across our borough, of which some live in the most 10% deprived in the whole country, and you're picking two little items where you think maybe somebody hasn't quite picked up the data you want. And I must admit personally, I want to thank our officers for doing this work. They have turned this round in a very, very quick time scale. So I think rather than us picking little things out that you think an officer may not have got right is really, really not appropriate. But I thank them for their work, and I will just be mindful of how you move forward on whether any of your colleagues take note on this and, or even acknowledge it, because we will remember every single pound of this investment you voted against. And schools they're not able to provide all of this. I don't know of any school in our borough that provides free for our children to go to the seaside.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. A really positive report and an ambition and an aspirational policy that we'll bring back. We want to monitor, Simon, and it'll be good to bring this back and see how we're matching our ideas. This is not just about 10-year-olds. This is about every child up until the age of 10 and the opportunities, and of course and beyond that too. So we're really looking forward to seeing this, and this is investment well made. It's been moved, it's been seconded. All those in favour? So everybody, thank you very much. We'll now move on to item 6 then, which is the Armed Forces Covenant Report. Councillor Paul Watling.
Thank you, Leader. Over 10,000 Armed Forces veterans live in Telford and Wrekin, and it's our priority to ensure that they have all the support and information they need. Really proud of what the military covenant, the Armed Forces Covenant Group is doing. We've got 76 organisations in the borough signed up, all but 3 parish and town councils in the area, and those 3 are due to sign up shortly. Once they do, I think we will be one of the only areas that have every parish and town council in the area signed up to the military covenant, which I think is a great achievement and shows the commitment of our town to our veterans. At the start of this year, we launched our Veteran Calm Cafes, which provide a space for veterans to come, talk, meet with other veterans, and also talk to people who may be able to offer support to them. This report asks for us to continue that process. It's been so successful. Veterans Calm Cafes started at the start of this year, and they have had to find bigger space, and with our partners at Great Dawley Town Council and at Telford Mind, we've worked to find that space. And again, it's about Team Telford working together, the parish and town councils, the other agencies working together. After just a few weeks, as I say, we needed a larger venue to accommodate all the visitors, which made it clear just how beneficial these services are. It's our priority to ensure every adult lives well in our community, and with 10,000 Armed Forces veterans living in Telford and Wrekin, we'll ensure they have all the support and information they need. This small amount that we're putting forward does mean that we can extend the Calm Cafes to other parts of the town, which I'm really proud of, and again working with our partners both in the third sector and our town and parish councils, it will move it forward. I move it.
Thank you very much. Is that seconded? Thank you.
I just say it's something I really support. I mean, the Armed Forces Covenant this council delivers for our veterans and service personnel is, you know, in my opinion, second to none the way we support veterans. And this Calm Cafe, having seen the report on BBC Midlands today, shows that the veterans really value this. You know, it must be hard when you've been living your lives for 20, 30 years with a group of people and then to be left isolated. It's nice to get that there is support for you in the community that you can go to, and there are specialists through our partners delivering that support, so you can talk to some of the things that you that have affected you. So it's a real positive thing that we do through the Armed Forces Covenant, and this is a real good example of that. And to hear the cabinet member say about the expansion of it because of the numbers shows it's needed. So I fully support this report.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing daily on our television screens, aren't we, the reality of war, and whilst we've not had, you know, that situation in, you know, within our own country, our armed forces have still been sent out. You know, they have, you know, most of them, you know, have still experienced, you know, some pretty awful stuff, and so making sure that if we're going to send people out as a nation, then we have to look after them, you know, when they're home. So, you know, I really welcome this. You know, I think it's absolutely the least we can do for our armed forces, and I'm really proud of the work that we're doing, the fact that we're working with such a wide range of partners as well, to support, say, armed forces, reservists and veterans. So welcome this, thank you.
Thank you. Eileen?
Thank you, Leader. I just want to say thank you to Councillor Watlin and obviously officers for their work on this report. I think it's a really, really important area. My dad was a paratrooper and my son-in-law served in Afghanistan and has PTSD and struggles on a daily basis to get through life. So I think, you know, this kind of support is so important for these people. They've given so much of their lives to support our country. So I think it's just a wonderful piece of work. And I think, you know, getting all of the 10 parish councils and partners involved, I think that's just an amazing piece of work to do. So I think it's really great. So thank you for all of your work on it.
Kelly?
Yeah, I must say it's fantastic. Obviously I work in mental health, as we all know, and I've spoke to veterans a lot, and I think part of what, as well as getting the mental health support, is the community that's created within the community for them. So, you know, they've had experiences that a lot of us wouldn't be able to understand, and it's having that sort of community where they can understand and support each other as well in that peer supported way. So I think it's absolutely fantastic and invaluable, and it is a specialist service to get that support for veterans, combat stress and all, you know, that kind of support. So absolutely fantastic to see. So, yeah.
Thank you, Kelly. As a son of a veteran too, it's really important, and my family's got a huge connection with the armed forces, and this is really, really important. Each and every veteran is a hero who's provided service to this country, and we as a country only should and must support veterans as they come out of their service, and these are ways in which we are doing that. We're also doing things as an employer. We're up there with Google and with other big companies as a gold accredited military covenant employer, and that's something we take really seriously and we invest in, and we support our staff either who have served previously or are currently reservists or are linked into the armed services in another way. We're incredibly proud of the MOD presence that we have here in the borough, something we fought very hard to keep, and this is an agenda that we are going to continue to improve, and I'd like to thank Paul and the officers too, and also Councillor Chris Turley, who chairs our military covenant group, for his leadership around this agenda. Another veteran too, a Labour councillor who gets this agenda a huge amount. So again, another good story and a good way in which to invest the funding into that we have as a council, even when that is not supported by all councillors in the chamber. Are there any comments from either group leader? Nigel?
Yeah, well, you know, like a lot of you guys, you know, I've got quite a lot of military history in my family as well, and yeah, I fully support this because it's definitely needed. There's no doubt about that, and you know, sort of, yeah, it's a great initiative. I'm sure it'll be spun as being against it, but anyway, I fully support it.
No, I don't think we'd spin it that you're against it. We just would highlight that you didn't vote for the money for it. Bill?
Yes, I'm in favour of this. Both my dad served in the Second World War and grandparents in the First World War, and they probably only wished they could have had more of this support. It was sort of brushed under the carpet a bit when they came out in them days. I had one relative who committed suicide because he couldn't cope with it after the First World War. And my deputy leader is he was a veteran, so yes, fully support this.
Thank you.
Welcome.
It's been moved, it's been seconded. All those in favour? Thank you very much. We'll now move on to our final agenda then in today's meeting, which is the Telford Wrekin Council Climate Change Fund. Carolyn Healy.
Thank you. This report provides an update on the 2021 Climate Change Fund and seeks approval to repeat the grant programme for this year, just with some modifications as we've learnt through the process of the first award scheme, grant scheme. So the fund was launched in February 2021. It's proved extremely popular across the borough and is obviously part of our commitment to being carbon neutral by 2030. We wanted to obviously work in partnership with organisations in order to reach that aspiration of the whole borough being carbon neutral, not just our own organisation. And it was fantastic to see so much engagement. We started off with a allocation of £100,000 for the grant, but we had such a response that we actually increased the budget to £131,000, and that's what we awarded out to 35 organisations from across the borough. I would like to thank members of the Climate Change Partnership and also Environment Scrutiny who helped on the assessment panels and also helped us think about the next phase and those changes just to refine the scheme. As part of the scheme, we wanted anybody who was awarded a grant to share their experiences so that we could share that good practice across the borough in order to encourage other organisations to take part, and we're building up a bank of case studies that we'll sharing on our website but also through our various communications channels. The report therefore seeks to authorise an allocation of a further £200,000 to launch another round of the Climate Change Fund, and we're aiming to invite applications in July 2022. The increased grant pot will be funded through the Climate Action Investment Product, which will be launched later in the summer, which I've spoken about at previous meetings. And the maximum amount available to organisations will be increased from 5,000 to 10,000. And this is really to provide that extra funding, because some of the funding streams that our grant was used to draw in additional funding, such as MARI and the Rural Community Energy Fund, are no longer available. So we don't want to make projects unviable. We want to ensure that some really good projects exist. And we've seen things like solar panels on community buildings, all the way through to school sort of growing and composting areas being developed that helps sort of create that circular economy of developing food, growing food for use in the schools, and then composting, and the children learning all about that as well. So a wide range of projects. We want to kind of really make sure we get many more of them in this next round. And I think, as you can see from the report, there's been a tremendous amount of work undertaken by a range of community groups, small businesses and schools, and we want to continue to support that as we transition the borough to net zero. So I'll move the recommendations.
Thank you very much. Is that seconded? Thank you. Any comments or questions from members of the Cabinet? Eileen?
Obviously, I really welcome this. I know it's one of those things where everything we do now has got to be linked to climate change. I think it's got to be on every level of every decision that we make moving forward. So I think this is really welcome. I'm glad that there's another round coming through, because I know there's lots of people that heard about this and want to get involved on the next round. So I think that's going to be really good. And I know there was some work carried out to some of our leisure facilities. I know Newport has been upgraded, which I think is really, really good work, and there was some funding brought in to get that done. So I think, it's one of those where we're going to have to, it's going to be a constant job, isn't it, to get this work done, but I really welcome it. So thanks to Councillor Healy and to the officers for their work on it.
Richard?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great report, really. I mean, sometimes it's the easiest thing to declare the climate emergency. It's how you deliver that. And I suppose, we can only do so much as a borough council, but there are community groups and organisations out there who need that little bit of support to try and deliver on their agenda to help us meet our to reduce our carbon footprint. So this is a great initiative. It was well subscribed last time, and I'm sure this will be oversubscribed this time. But you know, we're doing all we can, and it's great that we can go and support those organisations and small groups in our communities to try and deliver to reduce their footprint and help us in our achieving our aim of reducing, of meeting our action plan. So I'm really positive, and I thank Carolyn for bringing this forward again.
Thank you, Shirley.
Just a quick one, really. Echoing what everybody has said, I mean, this is a sort of initiative that is going to help with the dealing with the climate change, and I really welcome the fact that we're increasing the amount of money available and the grants that are available, because I know from talking to a lot of people who were really interested last time, there's some really exciting schemes out there, and some of them just need that little bit of extra money towards it, so I think it will actually provide that. And looking at the case studies, it's great to see the wealth of different ideas, and the fact it's right across the borough. One's in Wellington, one's in Little Wenlock, another one was up at Red Hill, and they're different sort of activities, education, community, halls, churches, so it's something everybody can get involved with, and as has been mentioned, every little bit of help that everybody can do will help us get to that net zero. It isn't a job we can do on our own. We have declared it, but this is actually a thing that needs to be led by the government. I mean, we've tried to take a lot of ownership, but this isn't our agenda. It's an agenda for the whole country that the government should be leading from the forefront on. But it's great that we're doing everything we can, so thank you. I really welcome the report.
Thank you. I think in recent weeks we've been talking about the climate emergency, but this is a security emergency now. We've got the Prime Minister of this country saddling up to one dictator and his mates 1 month, and now going around the world straddling up to other dictators because the renewable and the diversification from energy and dirty money has not been done over the last 12 years under this Conservative government. And I think that this is a security emergency as much as it is a climate emergency. We need to make sure that we're able to produce our own energy to power our homes and our country, and not be dependent on dodgy relationships with dodgy dictators and relying on dodgy donations to the Conservative Party and putting dodgy people into the House of Lords. But I just said that as an aside. Bill?
Yep, I welcome this, and I think, apart from that political aside, I wish that the national government were doing something. They've got so much more resources than we have. We could do our bit, and 200,000 isn't a bit, but it's a start. And I'm thinking, it begs the question, we're looking at trying to reduce people's fuel bills, and we're trying to save the planet. Why on earth don't they give grants out to social landlords, at least to say, right, for everybody there, you're bringing those dwellings up to standard in terms of insulation, the most friendly heating that you can have, and those social landlords can't do it. They haven't got the money. So why isn't the government saying, well, it's all right saying everybody have heat pumps? They can't afford it. The vast majority can't afford these measures. So why isn't the government doing something along those lines? So I really welcome this, and it shames the government in what we're trying to do. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I wish I was. Things would be a lot.
You're not for the government.
No, I wish I was the government.
You wish you were for the government.
No, I wish I was the government. Anyway, so coming back to the Climate Change Fund, yeah, it's great because it kickstarts projects that possibly wouldn't have been delivered, and obviously lots of little contributions can make a significant difference. So we have only got 8 years before we said we'd be carbon neutral. So anything that's going to help achieve that is to be welcomed.
All right.
Yeah, thank you. Great feedback from that. Thank you very much. I mean, I picking up on Bill's point, completely agree. And I think we've got some of the worst and sort of least energy efficient housing stock in Europe in this country. And you're absolutely right. You know, a national scheme of retrofit and energy efficiency would be very welcome. We might not agree with the tactics of Insulate Britain, but I think what they were trying to say was actually they had something. You know, and we do need to do that. And similarly with new builds, and we often get comments, don't we, about new builds and why isn't every new built house fitted with solar panels and so on. Well, we're doing that with the stuff we're building ourselves through New Place, unfortunately, because we're still waiting on the Future Home Standard from government, which is not due till 2025. we can't insist on that on other developments. So I think quite right. I would love, you know, government to really, you know, step up a lot more on this agenda, but we'll do what we can here in Telford and Wrekin.
Of course, that particular policy around energy efficiency homes, and the policy was introduced by the last Labour government, was scrapped by the incoming Conservative and as it happened, Liberal Democrat government in 2010. But I just say that as an aside, Bill. It's been moved, it's been seconded. All those in favour? That's everybody. Thank you very much for bringing the meeting to an end. Thank you.